the forest is a terrible thing, isn't it? So it has always been happening, I want you to know. You are not willing to look at it, that's all. Violence, greed, anger, hatred, problems, this is not new to this generation. It's always been. It is just that we are talking about it like…
Ready for the video?
I'm ready.
Let's do it, man.
All right.
Conscious practice. What's conscious? This is Vish and…
Elias.
And today we'll be responding to Sadhguru's video on…
World violence and corruption is the same as it's always been.
My name is Vish, I'm an aspiring yogi, love all things meditation, wisdom, and yoga based. Super grateful to have Elias here on the show. Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm a third year at the University of Texas at Austin. I'm planning to study medicine in the future, and I'm also a Palestinian Muslim.
Well, thank you for being here. And without further ado,
Let's do it.
And the history of the planet is such. It has been constantly strife-ridden, please see. It's not just today. People are always thinking, why today there is so much violence? It is not so. Violence has always been there on the planet. Always.
That's right.
It is just that today if 50 people die in Iraq, the blood splatters into your house through the television. Yes? The Iraqi blood splatters into your own house, isn't it? But 1,000 years ago, if 1,000 people died in Iraq, you would be still here peacefully eating your morning dosa. Because nobody would tell you about it. So today, wherever something happens, and somehow the media is only focused on death and rape and killing and this and that, all the time this is spilling into your house every day through the television or newspaper or whichever way. But 1,000 years ago, even if 10,000 people died somewhere, you would be still sitting here thinking the whole world is Ramarajya or whatever. Even in Ramarajya, there was only violence, isn't it so? Yes? Deception, violence, jealousy, hatred, this is the whole of Ramarajya also, isn't it so? Do you see this? Rama went to forest, why? Jealousy. Rama went to Sri Lanka, why? Greed. Somebody's greed, isn't it? And endless battle, on the way battles, at Sri Lanka battle, then burn the whole place down, come back, then you still can't keep your wife, you have to send her to the forest because of some other reason, and she dies there. Now you glorify everything, she went into the earth, everybody goes there only. Where else do you think you will go? You think you'll go to sky? You will also go into the earth only. But if we send you into the earth right now, there is no glorification, it's gory, isn't it? But Sita went into the earth, you glorify it, because 5,000 years later, you can do many things to it, you know. It's a terrible thing, isn't it? A pregnant woman, a woman who is full, with a child in her stomach, not one, two. Maybe they didn't know it's two, but anyway. Sending her to the forest to fend for herself in the forest is a terrible thing, isn't it? So it has always been happening, I want you to know. You are not willing to look at it, that's all. Violence, greed, anger, hatred, problems, this is not new to this generation. It's always been. It is just that we are talking about it like never before because we are seeing it like never before. Our ability to see across the world is so greatly enhanced, so we are talking about it. Another reason why we are talking about it is because we were never equipped for destruction or construction like never before we are equipped right now, both for destruction and construction, isn't it? Because we are so heavily equipped, now we have to think little more before we take a step. There was a time, if you got angry, you could just pick up the stick and go. Either you kill that man or he kills you, that's all there is between the two of you. You know, it was always a duel, but not anymore. Today if you get angry, you may end the world. So we are talking more about it. But the human strife has always been. So why is this so? Because simply we are just trapped in the survival process. We're not looking beyond that.
So Elias, was this your first ever Sadhguru video?
This was actually my first video, yeah, it was.
Cool. So with that being said, what's your first impression of him and the video itself?
You know, I think he seems like a very wise individual. He speaks with a lot of with a lot of passion that you can kind of tell that he's wise. You know, he doesn't have to inflate the way he speaks or kind of emphasize certain points in a way that most speakers would. I think he's very direct and very honest in the way that he speaks, and you know, specifically in the video, he talks about a lot of relevant points that are very accurate to us in this generation. That we have access to technology, we have access to connect to the other side of the world, even if we're in one place, and I think it's a very important point to think about.
There we go, and I appreciate you sharing that perspective here. And with that being said, with regards to your background from Palestine, where there is conflict obviously right now ongoing, was there anything that you connected with specifically what he said, or maybe things you didn't connect with? It's an open platform here, so.
Right. I think there was this idea of corruption, that corruption has always been on the world. There's always been corruption regardless of the time or where you go or the people that you interact with. And it's kind of, you know, it's interesting to think about that, you know, now that we do have access to it, the way we think about corruption, the way we think about violence is completely different. You know, we go on Instagram, we go on our social media and everything, and we're kind of scrolling the page and we see a child that might have been shot, or we see a mother who was killed, or a father who just lost his home or business, and you scroll and you see and you get kind of sad for a couple of seconds, and then on to the next thing, and it seems to repeat itself every day.
Do you think it like desensitizes people to an extent?
Absolutely. I think all of us are desensitized. You know, if we're not living it, especially if we're over here in our comfortable lives, and you know, we can claim to have empathy and to feel for these people, but the reality is we won't understand. We never will. And it's truly a problem, something that we do need to address.
Again, another great perspective here, super valid. And with that being said, what's your take with regards to what he said specifically about how conflict right now, it seems to be let's say bloated, because we have this access to the television and social media and so on, whereas it was also happening maybe even worse way back in the day, but we just didn't know about it. So how do you feel about that in terms of what he said with regards to us, you know, just realizing that it's always been there? How do you feel?
I think that's a very accurate point. I think the most relevant thing to talk about is what's going on in Russia and Ukraine right now. That this was something that no one really knew was happening before. We weren't really sure that there was such a big conflict. And then it seems almost out of nowhere. We see on CNN or we see on Fox News, whatever your favorite channel is, this news of war breaking out, that people are dying, that people are being hurt.
Do you think social media has been helping with that in terms of raising the awareness of the conflict?
I think it helps, but I think awareness is only one part of the puzzle, because we are very limited in what we can do in our power. But at the same time, awareness is very important, because we do have the capacity to make change, and we do have the capacity to kind of communicate these things that could potentially prevent future issues in the world. So I think it is very powerful that we do have technology and we do have the way that we communicate right now.
100%, Elias. Thank you again for sharing that. And just real quickly, my views here, I think it really definitely connects with what Elias was saying, as well as Sadhguru. I definitely think it's important to be firstly aware, because a lot of people aren't even aware of these things, right? So I think that's where social media and technology It's actually a big little debate whether it's a good or bad thing, but I don't think it's good or bad. It comes down to your awareness and how are you using it? How conscious are you? So if you use it consciously, you can use it for the better. I mean, technology created both the atomic bomb as well as this screen that I'm able to talk to, right? So it's clearly not a good or bad thing. But the point with that is, I think it's really important also to take a step back when we do hear these things and these conflicts and these war crimes. Not to say that it's okay, definitely not justifying what's happening, but to realize that your mind can almost over amplify what is really happening. And that's especially because when you're getting hit left and right through the scrolling, through the flipping of the channels. So just to realize that it's always been there and it's not just now, but as he says, it's really just more in your face now. Now, with that being said, obviously, as Elias very beautifully said, it's just one piece of the puzzle, which is the awareness. The next steps are, what can we do, right? And if we are in this blessed country and fortunate position of financial and, let's say, other circumstances, I don't know if I have an answer here specifically. I don't know if you do, but I guess the key is just to explore on the what can I do? Is there something I can do? And really, with that being said, we'd love to hear what you all think about these questions that I just raised. My views, Elias's views, as well as Sadhguru's views. It's an open platform here, so let us know what you think in the comments down below. I want to take this second just to thank you, Elias. Had some great points here again. It was a really good time here. With that, make it a great day. Take this joyful and stay conscious. Awesome job, Elias. Great.
All right, I really appreciate you, Vish.
Perfect, man.
Thank you.